Testing the mic, testing the mic. Hello. We'll give people a few minutes to show up before we start the situation. I was traveling, but then traveling's finished sometimes. It was good, but I got sick, which I'm still a little bit sick, so you know, that's how it is. Am I still bothered by that I can't discern which windows in focus, settings, personalization, color show on start, taskbar, action center, and title bar? Dude, I just can't be bothered with any of that stuff. Again, like like I say, every time, like people give me some random ass customization and it's like, fine, I'm going to go do that on all 5 machines that I use daily. And then 3 of them are going to update and the settings will erase, or I'll reinstall an operating system somewhere. And I have to redo these 100 settings, right? This is the thing. So it's not my job to make the operating system reasonable. And to, like, if I have a limited amount of time and effort to spare, I'm going to put that into the game. I'm not going to put it into fixing the operating system to be what they should have. Unless it's so bad that there's simply no other route, in which case maybe I consider switching operating systems. But it is not the user's job to, I don't know. I'm going to stop repeating myself. Yeah, there's no way I'm going to tie my thing to a Microsoft account. It's ridiculous, right? What there should be is some centralized place where there's settings that are just in files, just like .dot files from Unix, and you can copy them off the machine. That's how it should have been for decades. It isn't. So, yeah. How do I advise people to work in a or do I advise people to work games? You have to learn somehow. So in your spare time after your job is not that bad of a way to learn. It's not as efficient as if you were learning full time. In fact, it's way less efficient. So it depends on how serious you want to be. Maybe if you don't know anything about making games, you don't know how serious you want to be, and then it's totally fine to do it as a spare time thing. For me, at some point after college, I had some money saved up and did it full time for a few years. And that was very good for me. But I don't know if that really translates to anybody else. Yeah, this talk that just went up on YouTube is one that I gave almost a year ago, or maybe exactly a year ago in Prague. All right. Another 60 or 90 seconds and we'll start. Yeah, I was surprised. I sort of had figured that those talks were never going to be posted, but I guess they were waiting to post them maybe as an advertisement for this year's conference. I don't know. Let me see. I don't know if they're having one this year. It looks like they're not having one this year. Huh? So the website, this is the conference that it was. And the website still says 2017. So, and it would have been November 2018. So they, Europe's oldest indie game developers conference is having a little bit of a skip year. Okay, so We're going to do some game stuff today. Are there any pre-stream on-topic questions before we go into the debugging session that we're going to do? There are multiple weird problems on this level that we're going to have to deal with. Any on-topic questions? I need to make a debug build. What? That was weird. Define on topic. I don't know, man. Give it a try. What does the purple light represent? Oh, shoot. Hold on. I didn't put in this level. The purple light is an endpoint beam, so it moves you to one end of the beam or the other. Okay, this level is called this. Yeah. Let's put that, let's make that our startup level. All right. On topic questions. How ready is the compiler for limited release? I don't know. I just fixed a big bug on last night's stream. We're getting there. Is this the first turn-based game I've worked on? No, it is not. What's my plan for today? Well, we're going to fix some gameplay bugs. You're wondering what chair I use. This is a Herman Miller embodied chair. Yes, I guess I'd recommend it. Anything interesting planned for the water shader? Well, it's going to look better than it does. I don't know what we're going to do, though, exactly. Has there been more stuff added to the particle system? I don't know that we need to add that much more. So what's on YouTube is still most of what's there, but of course, you also can set the material per particle or per emitter. And then that material has a custom shader, and you can just do random shader stuff. So there's a few more things that we did. So let me just make a particle source. Actually, you know what? We could. Oh, it doesn't matter. This is not the default particle source is not very interesting, but it doesn't matter, right? So the only real thing we added, I think, that's not on YouTube is there's these things which don't actually do anything by default. These are just arbitrary colors. And these just get sent to, and two constants, and these just get sent to the shader. So if you put a weird shader on your particle system, it can use these to do whatever it wants. So that's not necessarily anything crazy. The next thing that we would do is interaction with the environment. And I'll probably stream that when I do it, but it probably won't be for a while because it's not that important. Do turn-based games have any interesting benefits or challenges as opposed to real-time games? Yeah, some things are easier and some things are harder. So in this game, movement is actually harder than it would be in a non-turn-based game, surprisingly enough. Sokoban line count. Well, we just compiled 95,702. Do I think generating C is good for an educational compiler, or is generating machine code more valuable? Okay, well, here's the thing. If you're just learning about the early parts of a compiler, like how to parse, how to build a syntax tree and that kind of stuff, then outputting C is probably fine. The problem is that outputting C allows you to skip most of the low-level parts of the compiler, because you'll find for most languages that you could translate from your syntax tree to C. And you don't really need to do a lot of low-level things, but those things are very important to making your own real language. And so what you would find is that at some point, outputting C stops being helpful and starts being a liability. But for the early part of the project, it might be helpful. It depends. It depends on what you want to focus on. Have I ever programmed a 3D world physics simulation for a game? No, but I was on a 2-programmer project where the other guy on the project did that. And I worked on just the graphics and client front-end stuff. If you want to get a job in the industry, would I recommend specializing in something or working on diverse projects? Well, working on diverse projects doesn't mean not specializing. So the way that job roles work is the specialization is along what you do, like designer, programmer, or whatever. If you mean specialization by type of game, like, oh, I design fighting games or something, you could do that, but that's a very niche thing, and it's probably a lot harder to find a job that way, because you could only look at places that make fighting games or whatever. Or, I mean, other people might consider hiring you, but then they'd go, oh, this person can't really do what we want. So I don't know if I would recommend specializing that way. When we do the soft particles, do we do anything more than just checking the depth buffer and interpolating? Nope. And it's not even really interpolating. It's just scaling the alpha value more towards transparent, because you don't tend to have the color value of the target pixel when you are shading. And the reason for that is because GPUs want to be pipelined. So that result, even if you're ostensibly covering up a pixel that's already been written, that color value may not have been computed yet necessarily. You mean more like graphics programmer versus engine programmer? Well, graphics programmer is engine program. Like, game engines are 95% graphics, okay? So, I mean, forget, like, people like to be weenies about entity component system on the internet or something, but the reality is 95% of the complexity involved in making a AAA game is all around graphics in one way or another. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that all the code is graphics, but like, you know, the tools programmer has to process the geometry in a certain way and pack it into certain ways, formats, so that it can be loaded quickly, because so much data gets loaded because of graphics. Like, you know, so those two things aren't necessarily different. But if you mean like, you know, graphics programmer versus AI programmer or whatever, that's probably better. So ideally you want to be able to do something in any area like that. Like you want to know enough AI that like you could sit down and write an A-star search or whatever, right? Or you want to know enough graphics that you could get some polygons on the screen if you had to. But then if you are really good in one of those areas, like really better than most people, that's very helpful and that'll help you get a job for sure. So I think you'll find that most industry programmers are specialized in that way. Like they have one or maybe two things that they're really good at. In a turn-based game, what are the most important considerations for making movement feel good to the player? That depends on the particular game. I can't generalize there. Cannot generalize. I'm sure this question has come up before, but when you made your first game, how familiar were you with the anatomy of a game? I wasn't at all. Back then, though, there wasn't an anatomy of a game so much as there is today, because we were still figuring it out. It was like well, depends on what you mean by made my first game. I mean, I made my first game when I was 10 years old, but whatever. Keep thinking about just game design versus understanding a 3D pipeline and everything that makes a game. If you like to be good at anything, you need both, but choosing where to start seems daunting. Well, here's the thing. What really works for me is doing stuff on my own without necessarily studying that much. And then noticing what seems hard or what I'm having a problem with. And then going back and looking at references and what people have done in the past and stuff to help solve that thing that I have a problem with. Because that makes it all very concrete and I'm very motivated to learn it and it's all contextualized automatically. And when things are contextualized, I understand them better, right? Just sitting down for a year and studying how game engines go, it's like, it won't end up being that deep of knowledge because you won't really understand why things are that way. You'll just be like repeating what people say is a good thing. Whereas if you actually ran into those problems yourself, you understand really why things are that way to solve those problems. And you see which aspects of the approach are potentially necessary to address that problem and which aspects are incidental and could be changed. And that's a much deeper kind of knowledge than if you just do the book work kind. So I recommend that. That's true now, but imagine a game with natural language understanding, speech synthesis, recognition, and some social simulation. Graphics would be a minor part of such a game. No, it wouldn't. No, it wouldn't. Graphics would still be the biggest part of that game. What is my verdict on the X1 Extreme? It's a piece of garbage in several ways, and I'm very mad at it, and I might send it back. I don't know. Computer reviewers are so terrible. Like, you watch these people like Linus Tech Tips or Dave, what's his name, on the internet, and they talk about this laptop, and they're like, oh, we have a review unit, and it's great. And it's like, you actually buy one, and it has all these fundamental things wrong. Like, I don't know, man. It's like, what are those people even doing all day? Like, nobody, you can't rely on reviews of anything, really. Are there still exciting places to explore when making 2D games? Of course, yes. Yes, there are. Do I see more exciting exploration in making 3D games? Not really. Not really. Have I created Discord bots? No. Linus seems like he honestly reviews the stuff he gets. Maybe he didn't do the X1 Extreme review. I don't know. I saw an X1 Extreme review and it was like good, and then I get the thing. God damn it. So what's wrong with the laptop? Okay. So yes, the screen is glossier than I would think. It's supposedly anti-glare. It's pretty glossy. It's not that bad. It's not as bad as a full glossy screen, so that's okay. It's got trackpad buttons. Let me get out the laptop. So it's got these trackpad buttons, right? Here. They're big and honky, right? And what does that mean? Well, they have this very, very, very annoying feature where you get tactile feedback that you've pressed the button, right? Because you feel it click down. That's how your body knows that you pressed the button. But it doesn't always register, right? If you're kind of tapping toward the edge of the button, it doesn't actually click. You have to like press hard in the middle of the button, which defeats half the purpose of having a physical button, because the point of a physical button is that when you press it, you know that it's pressed, right? So they screwed that up. That's really bad. So the trackpad is a Synaptics trackpad. Yeah, the 1080p version of this laptop does have a matte screen, but it's 2018. I'm not going to try to program on a 1080p laptop. Okay. Trackpad is a Synaptics trackpad. As nearly as I can tell, so of course, because I'm an actual programmer and not like a Mac user, I turn off all the goofy gestures and stuff so that I can actually use it reasonably. Turn off the palm check down as low as possible. There's one thing you can't turn off anymore. Neither the Synaptics driver nor Windows, as nearly as I can tell, will allow you to turn off a thing that disables the trackpad for like 0.4 seconds anytime you press a key, right? So if you're typing in a web page and you type your name and then you want to like slide the cursor over to the next field or a button that you want to press or something, you can't do it yet. You have to like wait and then do it. It's very, very frustrating. I tried a registry hack to turn it off. It didn't work. So that's really stupid. That by itself is just so infuriating. I had problems like yesterday. It took me 5 minutes to try and turn the laptop on because it was in some weird state. Like I kept pushing the frickin' button and holding it down for 30 seconds. It finally eventually rebooted and powered on. I have no idea what's going on there. There's an audio driver problem where if you haven't been playing sound and let's say you're working in a sound editor like Goldwave or something, and you want to edit your sound and hit play. The amount of delay between when you try to start playing sound and when it actually comes out the speaker is a random number between 0 and 2.5 seconds. Like literally, sometimes you play a sound and you sit there and then it plays. It's so screwed up. The keyboard doesn't necessarily feel very good. The full verdict is not in on that. It's unpleasant to type on, I find right now, but as I break it in, it might get better. But anyway, the trackpad stuff is just unforgivable, and the audio driver thing is pretty bad. I don't know. I paid $4,000 for this thing. It shouldn't be a piece of shit. You know what I mean? What do I think of the Chromebook? I don't know anything about Chromebooks, but they don't seem appropriate for what I do. Are the review units better than standard units? Well, I doubt that they have better drivers or different buttons or anything. You had the exact issue with your idea pad. It's a bit tedious, but you can hack the registry to fix that. Maybe. I mean, I tried the registry hack that somebody had on their web page, and it didn't work. Maybe I'll just have to keep trying. It's really annoying. I mean, so not only can you like not even like mouse around web pages correctly, forget trying to play any type of like 3D thing where you're WASDing and then looking with the trackpad. It just doesn't work because every time you press WAS or D, the trackpad just stops working for a half a second. It's the stupidest thing. Ah. Windows scaling is starting to be good. It's not like actually good, like it should have been 5 years ago already, but it doesn't really make things blurry anymore. Just sometimes things are at the wrong size. But for the most part, if you run Windows on 4K now, it's kind of okay. Maybe it wasn't 4,000. It was between 3 and 4,000. Because, so when I get a laptop, I tend to do some things that boost the price up. Like I want an SSD for sure. And I want it to be large because, in game development, we tend to have a lot of big files. So right there, usually when you pick the biggest SSD out of whatever options they give you, it adds a significant chunk to the price. What notebook to buy? I really don't know. This was my only idea. I'm down to 0 recommendations now for laptops. I literally cannot recommend you any laptop in the world. They're all bad. They all have problems. Are there parts of the game that are already locked in, or is everything malleable until we ship? Well, what do you mean by locked in? There are lots and lots of decisions that are unlikely to change. I mean, we could, in principle, change anything. I don't know. It's a very vague question. Subscribe for 5 months in a row. Wow, we've been Twitch affiliate for 5 months. Doesn't seem that long. Yeah, it seems like time has been flying very quickly for the last several months. I don't even know. ThinkPads used to be really good. So back a long time ago in the ThinkPad T41 days, like the early 2000s, they were really good laptops. But that was when IBM owned them and they sold them to Lenovo, and as predicted, they went downhill shortly after that. This one honestly wouldn't be that bad if they just fixed these couple of stupid things. What did I not like about the ThinkPad? I just did a 5-minute rant about that. Sorry, you must have just dropped in the channel. You can rewind to see. Why would I say it took so long for the world to get off the OOP bandwagon given the obvious issues? Well, first of all, I don't think most of the world has gotten off the OOP bandwagon. In most universities, you're still taught that that's the way to program, and most companies think that's the way to program. So if you think the world got off that, then you're a little bit exposed to a lot of people like me or Casey or somebody who say it's not the way to do things. But most of the world still thinks object-oriented is the thing. Given the obvious issues, the thing is issues are not always that obvious because, you know, like I often say, the idea of object-oriented was invented for a reason. And that reason includes a statement of what problems it's trying to solve. And you can look at the mechanisms and say, oh yes, these mechanisms are attempts to solve that problem. But it's hard to see the drawbacks, and sometimes you don't see them until your programs get large. And so you usually have an unrealistic view of any kind of large, complex thing like that because you see what it's supposed to solve and you don't see what it incidentally does that's bad, right? And so it's not necessarily a surprise that so many people bought into object-oriented ways of doing things. Can I recommend any good computers from the 80s? The C64 seems better than anything on the market right now. Dude, I had good times on my C64. Those were the days, man. Are we waiting on something? We're just doing questions and answers before I go. Indie games I'm looking forward to on the near horizon? I don't know of any. There probably are some that'll be good, but I don't know. Why laptops at all? Well, I used to go do a lot of work in coffee shops and that kind of thing. And it's good to do that on a laptop. But if laptops just keep being stinky, like if I hate using this thing, I'm probably not going to take it to a lot of coffee shops. It'll probably just change my working life patterns, and I'll probably just do it from home here or something, you know? An issue in some turn-based games is that players usually want to move faster than animations allow. How do I handle animation and update differently when the player moves very fast? In this game, we actually speed up time. So, but we'll probably do that only for one thing. So if I just hold left or hold right here, this is not a very big map, but so this is sort of the default animation speed. And you can see it's probably a little bit faster than real life, right? Just to make the game snappy, but this is what you get if you're holding down the key. But if I tap a lot of times, it'll go faster, right? And that's how we make it playable. We're playing the same animations, we just speed them up. Oh, Obra Dinn comes out next week. Yeah, that'll be good. What do I think's missing in games that used to be commonplace? I don't know. I don't know of anything that fits that description. Why do I use Emacs? Why not? Am I familiar with the Russian mystery game called Pathologic? Yeah, I played that way back. I don't know if I would call it a mystery game, unless I'm thinking of something different. Let me see. Oh, that's a different one than what I was thinking of. Okay. Is this our own engine? Yes. Yes, it is. Okay, let's get started. Okay. Are there other entities that only update when the player moves? If so, do you also just speed up their animations to keep up with the player? Right now, we speed up the global clock, which is weird because there's not a lot of like background animation here, but you would see the background animation speed up, and you can see it sort of on these arrows on the purple beam. They speed up. But that's really weird. So what we might do is just speed up the sim clock. But leave the back, have a different clock for like non-gameplay affecting background animations or something. I don't know. That might be a thing we do on stream someday. Have I been tempted to prototype a game with Unity? No. No. All right, so here's the thing. This is what's called an endpoint beam. So if I get in the beam and move in the direction of the beam, then I go there. So this beam is getting shot up into the sky. So if I move right from where I'm standing, I get put at the end of it. If I try to move left, I can't go because the left end of the beam is like inside this wall. So I can't teleport to inside the wall. Now, so the first bug is this all seems to work unless I'm standing in this square. And if I go right from here, I just can't frickin' go. But like we're getting movement sounds. It's weird. Anyway, so I need to figure out what the hell is going on here. That's problem number one. And then we'll get into the more problems. Off by one error. I don't think it is, but we'll see. Because you're at the same chords as the destination. I believe that, actually. I believe that probably it's scanning for blockers in the destination. Let's try this. Let's elaborate on that theory. What if I start here and there's a rock here? Now does it mean it'll never work? Oh, well, that rock, okay. That rock also blocks the beam, but this one won't. So like, nope. I mean, but maybe it has to do with somehow being at the same coordinate as myself. Maybe you're moving, but the animation doesn't tween because you end up in the same place. But I don't end up in the same place. I'm supposed to be up in the air. Up in the air. Well, okay, so let's test for a more specific thing. Let's just say we've got another rock here. All right. So now, okay, that's true. Okay, so see, it's right. So here I couldn't move before, but now I can. And here, oh, you know what it is? I know what it is. It's so, okay. Okay. We have a special check, and it probably just doesn't check Z. Okay. So this thing is called an endpoint beam, and so this value endpoints gets set. Of course, the question is, so here's where we decide, let me turn on the eye tracker. Here's where we decide what the target position is of where you're going to end up if you're in the endpoint beam. Come on, eye tracker, turn on. There we go. Well, it's not working. Oh, there we go. Stupid eye tracker. It's 95% good. It's just the people who made it decided to angle it not enough for some reason. All right. Okay. Do I have any specific scheduled streams, or is it just whenever I'm in the mood? It's just whenever I'm in the mood. Where do I buy my sweatshirts? I don't know. Wherever. How did the leaves in the forest of the witness not get screwed up with distance like all your alpha-tested leaves do? I think we did something special about that, but I don't remember what it was. We did do something very specific to prevent that. Will we get another update about compiler public release? Eventually, but not yet. We're just working on stuff behind the scenes. Do I use the eye tracker for myself? No, I can't see it right now. I have it turned off. Only the stream can see it. Okay, so here we decide which endpoint of the beam we're going to. And I guess we don't... So we take the distance to the target. Oh. We figure out the delta to the target. Okay. Anyway, so what we're looking at right now is move individual guy. This is like the thing that gets called anytime you try to move a guy. So we say get move info, and yeah. So we only consider. Okay. It's so funny. This was written assuming that we're just responding to keyboard input, right? So keyboard input only moves you in X, Y. But the endpoint beam is a wacky thing that can put you into a different direction, right? And so we just need to do this. To solve that. There we go. How great. So look, it works. You can't see the eye tracker thingy. What? Did I turn it off? Oh, it's turned off. There we go. Can you see the eye tracker thingy now? The slight delay right after the teleport looks unnatural. Well, that's things we can adjust, right? The falling looks unnatural. Let me slow it down. So you actually pause in each square when you fall right now. So like pause, 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 pause. And that's not good. So there's all sorts of things that we're going to tune, right? Don't worry about it. Can't do everything at once. I mean, he's even making walk sounds when he falls downward right now. Like, all right, well, he doesn't at least play sounds anymore. So, commit. Fix a couple of weird things that happen with endpoint beams. Let's not check in our changes to the level because, well, we can check in the Bardstone test. This is somebody else's level, so I don't want to mess it up. Okay, now there's another problem that we got to deal with. It's a slightly more sophisticated problem. It is as follows. When you move multiple things at a time, as we might have in a situation where you got a bard, the bard moves other stuff. We've got a guy and a couple of stones here. These stones all move. So what happens is they all successfully teleport to the end point into each other. And that's not good. That time it didn't happen. Oh no, that was because it was me. See that? That shouldn't happen. We have mechanisms for non-teleport movement to avoid that, and I would have thought that they apply to teleport movement, but maybe they don't. Let me make the bard first to go. There. So when we start the level, bard is up, we do this, and everybody teleports into the same spot. Do I ever use hot code reloading? You know, I just don't need it right now. Again, it's something we could do, but it's just more complication, and I've got enough to do right now. For the trackpad disabling while typing, it appears that Windows now links it to the touchpad sensitivity setting in the touchpad settings. So when it's set to most sensitive, it doesn't appear to disable while typing. Aren't those two things like orthogonal from each other though? Let's see. Let's give it a try. All right. Touchpad settings. Touchpad sensitivity, most sensitive. I don't know what that means. All right. Hey, it works. Okay. I can actually use the touchpad now. I hope most sensitive doesn't do things that are bad as well. It sounds bad. Maybe not. Dude, just everybody making that kind of decision is super fired. Thanks for the help, though. Sensitivity doesn't appear to actually be sensitivity, only how long it takes between typing and touchpad being enabled. Great. Then why not? Here's an idea, Microsoft. Call it that. Call it delay before touchpad starts working after you type. And then people will know what the hell to set it to. Probably because the instance of moving everything at once assigns the endpoint to all objects at the same time, rather than having it proceed as one at a time or all collide with each other at the endpoint. Well, that is true, but when you are about to move to your target position, there's supposed to be a check. Because even with non-teleport movement, if you start walking into a square, somebody else could have started walking into that square and beat you there. So, yeah. Thoughts about AI in short? That's a little too off topic for right now. We want to keep programming right now. Similar to how cursor acceleration is named enhanced precision. Yeah, I have a lot more precision with acceleration turned off, let me tell you. Buy Microsoft and give you a working Windows. Dude, I really don't have enough money to buy Microsoft. And I'm not sure that that would be the best use of it if I did. Okay, so let's just take a look at that first of all. So this is happening in visual interpolation. And supposedly, when we're going to physically move, guys, we check if a foreign entity occupies that square. Oh. Interesting. Okay, so we do a different thing. Linear move means we're just walking, right? So in that case, we do this. In this case, in theory, we just cancel the interpolation and remove this, but that doesn't seem to matter. This is weird. This is weird. Like we break out of the loop here. So we shouldn't then be calling update physical position and so forth. Unless the teleport interpolation itself called update physical position. I don't really know. I think we're just going to... I deleted a comment. Let's recompile. We're going to see what happens. All right, so we're going to go to there. And we will go to this loop. Okay. So now I don't know if the bard probably doesn't move at the same time as these guys. Well, they start moving, but the bard won't change into her square. So probably we get physically moved of 3 guys at the same time. Let's see. Count is 4. Really? Seems like 1 too many. What do I enjoy more? Gameplay or engine programming? I don't know. They have different aspects. Gameplay programming, you see very quick results. Engine programming, you build complex systems that do hard things. It's just different. What does location do? It just makes a little struct that says the file and line number. If you put something in the parentheses instead of leaving them empty, it'll give you the file and line of that symbol that you named. How do you find which Windows API functions is in which DLL? It's in the documentation. The header files don't really tell you. The documentation, though, tells you. Let me make sure I didn't leave a drink in the freezer. I did not. Okay. It's weird that we have 4 things. If the bard is moving at the same time, well, let's just see. So this will be false. So we physically move this guy, and we call update physical position. Okay, linear move. From 213 to 313. I guess that's just the coordinates we're at. We're at y equals 13 for some reason. Z equals 0. Okay. Linear move. Well, that would be the bard. So that's not really a surprise. So she's a linear move. Okay, next. From 214 to 214.7. Boom. Okay, teleported. Uh-oh. Did we already update? Nope. So this entity has not actually been moved. We're going to say, does a foreign entity occupy the square? And that's going to be false, right? It is false. So this is fine. This is all good. We would expect the first person who teleports to be fine. Now, here, we've got another one going to 214.7. This one found should be true. It is not. Ah ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. The reason, oh God. Okay, here's what's happening. This transaction ID right here that's being passed to foreign entity occupies square is a way of saying, hey, you know, if we're pushing a block or whatever, that block is synchronized to us. And so don't have the block us from moving. That block is in that square where we're going, but because we're participating in the same transaction, then my moving there will involve the block moving out of there, and so you don't have to worry about it, right? Now the problem is these guys moving or teleporting into the same target square are having the same transaction. And so they're ignoring each other. And that's not really what we want. So the question is, what is cleaner? Is it cleaner to detect the situation when we're causing it and put them into different transactions? Or do we have an exception here where we say, look, if you're teleporting, it's no good? I don't think so, because there are cases when you can be teleporting and pushing, I guess. Maybe that doesn't work that way. I don't know. I don't know. The problem with different transactions at the creation time is just we have to make sure to catch all the cases where it could happen. So first of all, it's not just if there's an endpoint beam. I don't know if this is really that solvable. This might be a really hard problem. You know, there's other cases where you might be teleporting, and in some of those other cases, in some times, you need to be in the same transaction, I think, and other times you do not. Let me think here. Although I think I can come up with this is just ugly. I can show you some of the other cases. Okay, so now that we know what we're trying to solve, instead of hacking up someone else's levels, we're gonna revert those changes just so we don't accidentally check them in. And we're gonna set up our own little test bed. And I'll show you what some of the situations are. So we don't need 3D, first of all, to make this problem happen. So here, well, maybe we do need 3D. So this is confusing me. Why doesn't it happen here, right? I forgot. I set this up earlier. Like, why doesn't it happen here? Okay, so that's a question. Why doesn't it happen here? Now, let me set up, oops. Some other things. Okay, and then okay. Now suppose I've got one of these and a fighter. Actually, for now, let's not even do this. Okay, so, oh, wait, there. Oh, no, never mind. This actually is okay. So if I do this, if I'm the fighter, right, this orange beam moves me by 2 squares. So I can pop in and push that guy. Our animation does not transition out of pushing right now for some reason, but that's okay. Actually, I know why. Gonna have to deal with that. Okay. So what I was thinking is there would be a way to move and be pushing this in such a way that it would end up in the same place. You may not be able to do it with this. Maybe it's fine. What happens? So does thief even work in this case? So like, yeah, thief should be able to pull that, I think, in my opinion. So maybe it really is just endpoint beam that we have to worry about. So why does this problem not happen here? Well, okay. So first of all, I should actually verify that what I'm saying is the situation. Whoops. Like, I think I know what's happening, but if that was happening there, it would be happening in this other case. So I should double check to make sure that I really know what is happening. We've got extra things. All right. So, oops. Right. So problem's still happening. Now, if I go here, again, where we were. Okay, so this first one is linear move. That's the BARD again. Second one is a teleport. The transaction ID is 2F, right? Third one is a teleport. Transaction ID is also 2F. So yes, they're getting the same transaction. It's probably the BARD's transaction was 2F as well. Although actually I'm not sure about that. Let's see. Why are we getting all these 2Fs? Anyway. Okay. So the BARD is 4-2. The next guy is 4-2, and the next guy is 4-2. Yeah. So the BARD and those guys are getting the same transaction. Which is why they're all moving at the same time, which is actually not even a good idea. So the problem is if we give these different transaction IDs, we are swearing to the back-end system that under no condition, well, no, we're not swearing that. Okay, let's delete this annoying line of code because it is no longer necessary. So I also have an ulterior motive with all of this, which is that there's a robustness pass that I'm going to have to do on all of this stuff to make, to fundamentally change the way that all of this works. And so I want to simplify it before I do that, because it'll make it a lot easier if it's simpler. And it all seems too complicated to me for what it does. But sometimes that's just how things are. Okay, so if we have guys in an endpoint beam, I bet I could set up a double beam situation that has the same problem. So let's go back here. We're going to keep the endpoint beam off to the side. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go double beam and mirror okay. So if the bard charms this guy, so first of all, this should go around the mirror to this square, I think. Or no, it should skip over the mirror. Yeah. Okay. Double beam doesn't go along the beam. So actually, so endpoint beam does, double beam doesn't. So I think really endpoint beam is the only one where we have this transaction problem. Yeah. Okay. Let's just do that. Let's just fix this specific case, and we'll see how good the fix is. And then if we run into this in any other cases, we'll hopefully remember what we did. Okay. So here's this whole situation where the bard, like, oh God, this is a thing we're going to have to change. We might do this on a separate stream later today, is the way the bard determines who she can move and stuff. It's a giant problem. Because like we actually move them in world space and then move them back, and like it's super hack. Super hack. Okay. We might not need to do that anymore because of all the transaction ID stuff. I don't know. We need to think about that. Anyway. all sorts of stuff we can work on today. Anyway, so really what we do here is just this. Bypass the checking. Okay. Well, that might just be enough to solve this problem. Oh, hold on. Let's do it. I still don't know why it wasn't specifically happening on that level with the flat version. But I'm not sure I really care enough to dig into it. I don't know. All right, so didn't work still. Damn it. If anything, there's just more particles. What is going on? Why are there so many particles? What do I think about compile time memory safety checks? It's too big of a topic to address right now, off topic. I don't know why that didn't fix it. Well, either either this isn't firing correctly, or that's not the only problem. Or the transaction ID being the same wasn't really the problem? I don't know. Well, we're just going to go here again. Physically moved 4? Okay, hold on. This is going to be confusing. I think we have objects on top of each other, which is one reason why we're getting so many particles. So, yep. It's a weird source control thing that happened. Although it's true that it's like more every frickin' time. What's going on there? Oops. Why so many? Ah! Why so many? Why are you playing that many teleport sounds, game? Like right there, it's like 8 of them. It's like a random number every time. Why is it wizard move all the time? Dude. Honestly don't know. Okay, this is so bananas that we have to we have to figure that out. That's new. It's happening because the transaction IDs are not the same. The rock falling noise is a very inexpensive sound effect that we bought off a website a long time ago. Yeah. Okay. See, so many teleport sounds. Let's make sure we have a fresh compile because I don't remember what I've been doing. And I mean, let's just see if we could figure out why there's so damn many teleport sounds. Okay. So that stuff gets played from here, which is do mover AV effects. So this is getting called many times. So let's see. So we're just going to see where those get called from. So move individual guy, enact move, iterating over the moved entities, right? Moved entities should be like 3. Yep, 3 of them. All right, so 1, 2, 3. Oh, except I guess one of them couldn't move. I don't know. So now we've got enact next buffered move. Oh. I'm not sure I understand this anymore. So, you know, what happens is you input keystrokes and they go into this buffering system so that you can tap out commands really fast and they'll happen later in the appropriate order. Okay. So we had no buffered moves. We generate buffered moves from keys that are being held down, and then we enact next buffered move. Okay. First call will be false here, right? So now we're down here. We did the move. Okay, now the problem is, how did we get here in the first place? Because that first loop, we only had one enact next buffered move call on the stack. So we weren't generating. So when we generate moves from held keys, it means, like, look, we haven't got new inputs and we're done with all our stuff. Oh. All right. Here's what's going on. I goofed. So when you generate a move on a transaction with a particular transaction ID, then later code says, okay, whatever that transaction ID was, that's what the rest of the system needs to wait for before it decides to unqueue whatever the next move is. All right? Now the problem is I am setting that transaction ID to random stuff, which is not correct. Okay, so here's what we do. Here's what we do is we say, we're going to make a new variable called other transaction ID. And by default, this is going to be equal to transaction ID, right? So we're going to set this thing, but we're not going to overwrite the original transaction ID, which is the one that we want to know about that belongs to the character movement, so that we can wait on that. All right. There we go. We're back to normal amounts of bananas. I think my guy is dead, but he doesn't look dead. He's dead. All right. Okay, now we can actually debug the thing that we wanted to debug. All right. That's all very fun. So we were going to be here. We were going to be in visual interpolation. We're getting the next one. Boom. Oh, wait. No, we don't want do move or AV effects. That's not what we're doing. We're doing this. Okay. So physically moved, 3 things. Okay, the first one is a linear move. Again, that's going to be the bard. Her transaction ID is 2. This one also is transaction ID 2. What? I am so confused. Do we... Okay, well... Well... All right, so moving. Oh. Okay, first of all, okay, we need to make this more complicated even. I don't think this is going to solve our problem, but well, actually, maybe it will. Okay. So this is the bard, and this is some other rock situation. Other endpoints is true, so we are setting other transaction ID, right? So now okay, so we had a transaction ID 2. We made a new one called 3. Oh God, okay. So I set it down here during the can go check. That's not what actually moves the guy. That's just checking whether we can go. Okay. This is a disaster. Not really, but so we make this little struct for everybody the bard's trying to move, and that is going to need to have the transaction ID, because when we move the guy, we need to set the transaction ID to that. Or we can make new ones, but we might as well just record it. Okay. So moved entity has a transaction ID on it, and okay. Here, we're not going to, this used to say, hey, use that initial transaction ID all the time. And here we say, use whatever is on the moved entities. Okay. Didn't fix it. Although, wait, am I expecting that to fix it? Yeah, I am. All right, debug build again. Debug build, debug build, debug build. All right. Move. Physically moved only 2 right now. They're in a different transaction ID than the bard now. So this transaction is completing earlier, which it should, because teleports are faster. Okay, so the first one's transaction ID is 4. Found is going to be false because there's nobody there. The next one's transaction ID is 3. Found is also going to be false, but that's the bug, right? Yeah, so why is it false? Oh my God, we check every... we check every moving entities. Okay, what about ignore living? Is that set? Shouldn't be. Okay. Okay, do we even get to here ever? Yes. All right, good. Other is there at... So E is the entity that's trying to move. Other is the entity that's moving. So we found somebody at 2:14.7, which I assume is our target position. Target position 2:14.7. So we found someone there. Is that person into ignore? What's this to ignore? We had 2 different ways to ignore the guy at the same time. One was having the same transaction ID, and one was we're ignoring everybody else who is physically moving this frame. That's what this physically moved argument means. That I believe, is wrong. Because if they're in different transactions, they could end up there at the same time. Easily. Does anyone else call this thing? Maybe we just take out the argument. Oh, nope. Somebody else. But they also pass no to ignore. So let's just get rid of it. All right. Okay. Non-debug build this time because we're just going for it. Hey, there we go. Okay, so now we have this funny thing where these guys that didn't move are floating up in the air. It's because the first part of their movement is a linear movement just for style reasons. And then we just cancel their interpolation without resetting that movement. So we can fix that part now. I've got a block on my head. Help, how do I get a block off my head? Well, I can teleport. All right, this is good. We're making progress. I want like some snacks. I'm at home sick today. I want like a crap load of good chocolate, and I don't have any. It's very sad. We're going to have to do some tea today. People are talking about monitor latency in the chat. Let's check the elite members only gold, platinum, and copper zinc club. Oh, people are talking about these funny Reddit game dev posts. Yeah, good times. Good times. People pressing F to pay respects. All right. Get some chocolate from around the corner. I want really good chocolate. Not from around the corner. I guess I could go to Whole Foods. When we take a break, I'll go to Whole Foods, which might be soon. I don't know. I mean, since it's my sick day, I could do whatever I want, man. Yeah. Well, let's, there's two things wrong here. So the first thing wrong is we're not resetting this interpolation of the guys who failed to go. The second thing is the interpolation's in the wrong direction. Like it's always going kind of to the endpoint, but we'd really like it to go along the beam. You know what I'm saying? And then the third thing that we could do that we're not totally going to worry about yet is, you know, right now, whoever goes first is a little bit random. It's not really random. It's like, you know, it depends on hidden variables of the system that the player isn't really going to understand. And so the question is, do we have some rule like the person furthest along the beam makes it and the other ones don't? Or what happens there? Is this inspired by Load Runner? This level sure seems like it, doesn't it, with all the fallen blocks? Just write it in the tutorial text. Yeah. Dear player, the order in which things get to the endpoint of the endpoint beam probably depends on their order in the moving entities array in Sokoban. Yeah, I don't know. Okay. So, now this thing here is the thing that's canceling the interpolation. All right, so we're going to do the same thing here. Actually, let's just do the same thing for everybody. 'Cause I don't really see why it should be any different. Why is the guy like going? Why is he going several squares over? That's not right. Oh, it's because he's having some velocity. It's working for all the rocks. Why is that floating? We're not... Oh, it's because the guy is really... He's really there. What if I just reset the velocity? Oh, that's another thing we get to address. Anyway. Didn't work. Works fine for the rocks. Not for the dude. Oh, he ended. Oh, right. He's not really in that square. I got to remember that. Okay, so like I said, this whole Okay. There's like a whole acceleration-based movement system for players. Actually, what if I make this... This is really stationary. I don't... Maybe that won't do anything. Not actually sure. Okay, well that's better, but still wrong. Maybe then I set the velocity. I kind of want to go in and, yeah. Dude, why you got to be that way? He always goes to the right. Oh, that's because that's the direction that I was going. So the dilemma that I'm having in my head right now is the reason this is a problem is because player control goes through this whole separate system. But that system, so we could try to fix that right now. That system is going to change substantially when we do the support refactor. So like, even though this is kind of ugly and stupid, it might be close enough for now. Because if I go fix it and make it perfect and then I just change the way all that works anyway, then it's wasted work. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. On the other hand, looking at it carefully might be a way to help simplify it. On the third hand, it could be time for me to take a break and go to the Whole Foods and get some chocolate and resume in a couple hours. Oh, okay. We're going to say this is actually kind of good enough for now because I'm just not in the mood to deal with it yet. But I think we'll do on a later stream today, we'll start looking at that visual interpolation code and trying to simplify it. Because that's going to be important for that step that I said of doing the big refactor on it. So I think what I'm going to try to do now, assuming it's not that hard, is when things are teleporting up there, that's so weird that, see, oh, yeah. Anyway, see how the guys lift up? We want them to go along the, whoops, wrong character. We want them to go along the beam. So we want to, on the visual interpolation, set the teleport direction, hopefully, when we teleport people. And if we forget to set it, we'll just use the delta direction. That's what we'll do. That is what we will do. Is this real science? Does the compiler output assembly in text version and call the assembler, or does it actually output machine code? It outputs machine code directly. Outputting assembler text is slow and gives you toolchain dependencies and well, those aren't good things to do. Why did it change the science and technology? Because Twitch has changed everything around. I can't be in the old places when the old places don't exist. All right, let's do that. We're going to add a thing to visual interpolation called, God, there's so many things on here. Teleport direction, vector 3 used for cosmetic visual effects in case of an endpoint beam. Teleport direction is not the same as the actual delta. Okay, now when we say get move info, we return the delta, but not the teleport direction. So we're going to need that. Okay. Although I mean, the teleport direction is always your initial move direction. So actually, we don't need to cloud this up. This is not necessary. Okay. Is it called a ridge delta? Like that. A ridge delta is the input that we got. So that should be right. And then, okay. So down here, when we do this move, we say if it's an endpoint I guess that's the same. See what happens. I call it teleport direction. Oh. Okay. Oh, we're not using this yet, so let's not try it yet. Okay, so now when we teleport, we say do teleport movement, which happens here. Okay. Okay, if the length of interp.teleport direction okay. So if somebody doesn't set teleport direction, oh, by the way, we need to reset that. When we reset it, okay. So if somebody doesn't give us a teleport direction, we just do the old thing. Otherwise, I don't know, point O.3 times something like that, O.4. I don't know. Let's see what happens. All right, so first for the warrior guy, I'm just going to move right in here, and we're slowing down time. I didn't see anything. Oh, no, he is. Okay. He is moving to the right. It's just the turning. That's another thing we got to fix, is that the turning is so big that it masks that initial movement. Okay, so if we're here, doing the Bard thing again, there we go. See? It moved to the right before it teleported that stone. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and the character is working a little better now. Great. That's so, okay, full speed. See, you get a little bit of visual feedback that they're trying to go. It's all good. That worked out surprisingly well. Yeah, well, let's make, okay, so now if we're controlling a character, he like turns toward the target, which is really not good. So let's get rid of that. Where does that happen? Turn towards. Okay, so the thing is, we probably do want to turn, if it's a teleport, in the direction that you expect. So like if you're facing south and then you're going right, you probably do want to go that way. Let's just say, so if the dot product between the delta, a ridge, dir, right? So we just say, oh, orig delta. So if whatever the keyboard input is, if it's putting us like behind, or even, all right, it's unit vector this, and let's just say if it's, so anything vertical we won't turn because that doesn't make sense. And anything behind us we won't turn. Right, so we've got this guy and boom, there, he didn't turn. There, he turned. He didn't turn. Didn't turn. But he should turn if, for example, let's go back to our test level that we could edit. Okay, so if he's facing here and he goes left into an endpoint beam, he should turn, which he does. If he goes right, he should turn, which he does. Double beam. If I go left, he should turn, which he does. Okay, good. So we turn as long as it's a direction that approximately is our delta. Maybe we should always turn toward the original delta. Maybe not. I don't know, man. I mean, maybe, yeah, you know, let's, okay. If endpoints change facing toward is orig delta. All right. Just do that. How do we feel about that? Well, yeah, that makes sense. Except we need to only do it when we're allowed to go, because that's the rules of some of the source games. So we actually need this part. Wait, really? Oh, right, because we let you rotate unless you have the magic items. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Well, I think that's everything we wanted to get done on this stream. So I'm going to write an email that I will show you. Well, let's check it in. Let's update. Make sure we have no conflicts. Yep. Okay. Fixes for weird endpoint beam situations. Oh, before we check it in, you know what we have to do? Because we did change some substantial things. Freedom isn't free. You gotta test your program. Whoa, we had some fails there. What? Holy cow, why did those... Oh boy, oh boy. We have some known failures, but not this many. Like these ones I expect to fail, but... Hold on. What was this one called? Arcadia V5? Huh. Fail. No. No, no, don't record. Fail. Fail. Okay. Okay, this is another problem. All right. We have some kind of a problem with we have some kind of a race involving things playing back too fast. Right, so if I play this back at, let me go back to this level. If I play this back at time rate 0, it'll fail. -1, it'll fail. And it's like the wizard who doesn't work. -2, it'll succeed. That's maybe something that we'll debug. So the fighters succeed though, right? That'll be next stream. So yeah, that succeeds. This will succeed. Basically, I guess anything with a wizard will fail. Like the teleport doesn't happen if it's too fast for some reason. And that is weird. It's not really a race condition in the threading sense. It's just in the regular gameplay logic sense. So, you know, the kind that Rust won't help you with. Yeah. His magic is too slow. Why did your sub stop? If it was a prime subs don't automatically renew. They just don't work that way. Because that would involve Amazon giving money automatically, and it doesn't happen. So the only subs that automatically renew are real cash money subs. Otherwise, you got to slam the button every month. Yeah. Okay, so this level is Arcadia V4. So we're going to try to debug that. Okay, so that fails. Rate -1 fails. Did you see, you even see the teleport effect happening on the block. Rate -2 succeeds. So this one especially, mega fail. This might be pretty important that this is failing. I really kind of don't know. This might have been influenced by what we just did. Like, Well, no. I would think that you and the target object always exchange positions on the same frame. So really the question is just probably something bad happens if the teleport doesn't complete, etc. So we're just going to have to run our test at a much slower speed. And that's going to be sad. But let's go. It's going to take a long time. Oh, wait. There we go. Oh, that's too damn slow. Let's try 16. Some of these will still fail because we know that like falling doesn't work right in replays, and these all might be good things to approach today. Why does the water look so much worse? All right, well, any questions about what we were doing today? We probably fail on about 15 levels right now. And some of them are for known reasons. What determines the direction that the character faces after they teleport? Earlier the dude faced left, but now he faces right. I literally just changed that in front of your face. Maybe you were looking at something else. I said what I was doing when I did it. Yeah, we need to work on the replays a little more to make them more robust. That is for sure. Can I give a high-level explanation? Well, we're programming a game. It's a puzzle game. Okay, that one, the reason that one failed, we actually know why. It's on the bug to fix list. That one. Yeah, replays need some attention. It's like we're at the point where a bunch of levels are going to fail, and I don't know whether they're due to what we changed or not, which is kind of a bad place to be. We'll see how it looks when we get to the end. Someone changed the water. It looks a lot worse now, but it's in progress, I guess. God, we're failing so many levels. I must have broke something. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, okay, that one failed due to wizard teleport. Okay. No, we're going to have to debug this. Because we can't even, like, all these levels with Wizard are failing at this speed. And if we run tests at a slower speed, like that one even failed. Okay, we must have broke this new. I guess we have to fix it. Like, none of these Wizard levels work. Yeah, we got to fix this before check-in. So the long stalls sometimes are because we haven't loaded those levels since we added texture compression. So it's compressing textures. Yeah, anything with the Wizard is a disaster. So many levels have Wizard on it. All right. Let's oh wait, we've got serious business. We've got to have some serious business. Dynamic live reflections, not yet, maybe. I don't know how hard the hardest level in this game will be. Texture compression. All right. That was some serious business. All right, so like if I test this one even, it'll fail, right? It's ridiculous. If I slow it down, then it succeeds. Okay, so what is happening? It must be that... Okay, what did we change, first of all? We didn't change very much. I mean, we changed this cosmetic thing. That shouldn't matter at all. And we changed the transaction issuing in the case where there's an endpoint beam. That shouldn't matter at all. So I am not really sure. Let's double check that that's everything. I want to go get my chocolate. I don't want to debug this. I want my chocolate. Okay, oh, foreign entity occupies square. This could be firing because we took out this thing that said everyone who's being physically moved. So if they're not in the same transaction for some reason, this could fail. Okay, so let's make sure that, what level is this one? 8? Yeah. So we're just going to go there. We're going to make sure we have a fresh debug build. We're going to start the game, and we're going to see if this happens. This should not happen on this level, that we find someone with a different transaction ID in the square we're trying to go to. Does it happen? Well, that's a totally wrong breakpoint. That's it. Oh, yes. Yes, we did. Okay, that's not what we wanted. Why is he not in the same transaction? Well, we have our two guys here. So the first one is a visual interpolation, transaction ID 3. Second one, transaction ID 3. Okay, let's try this again. Wait, what? What is going on? Who is this? I need to make an easier way to see who is who. Okay, other is interpolating. It's a teleport. The start time is -1 though, which is weird. But okay. So the reason we check the start time is because this is supposedly not a valid visual interpolation if the start time is less than 0. It is marked as the same transaction as us. So now we have this weirder question. Of why? What's the deal with that? All right, so if I just test this without doing the weird breakpoint go back thing that we did. Okay. Okay, here it was fine. Here it's -1. Why? Why? Because we already did it. Okay. Okay. So the problem is when we're doing this check, while we're in this very loop, we will end up resetting the visual interpolation potentially here. Or we do stuff to it, right? And so the problem is that even though this guy is in our same transaction, because we handled him first, we're getting fooled. All right, so one thing we could do this check again in like a whole separate loop. That's clean. Let's see if that helps. If it doesn't work, I'd probably rather approach it a slightly more hacky way, but okay, so we're just going to do this. Okay. Let's see what happens there. Still fail. So bad. So bad. I mean, this is a little bit cleaner, but it didn't solve our problem. Why didn't it solve our problem? Does anyone else on the team write gameplay code? For this game, I am the only person doing gameplay code currently. It's pretty much my project that way for that kind of code. Other people are doing other kinds of code. Okay. The fan on my PC started getting noisy. Dang it. All right. All right, this one is fine. Fine. This one is -1. Like, that's weird. So it's not happening in the rest of this loop. So either it somehow happens here, which would only happen if one of the guys failed in that same interpolation, or it's due to someone external. And I think it's due to someone external. So we could always ignore if the start time is -1, but we'd rather not do that. We'd rather figure out why. Well, let's figure out which entity this is, and we can debug it. So this entity is need an easier way to do this. Oh, resource name, crystal. So this is the crystal. For some reason, so what we can do is when a teleport happens, we can break on a certain transaction ID. If it's always transaction ID 3 that fails, let's not break here. Let's break here. So if this is always transaction ID 3, then we can break when we set it up. Transaction ID 8. Well, the timing actually probably changed a lot because we had the thing open in the device. Let's just see. Transaction ID 8. All right. If it's 8 every time under these conditions, we should pretty reasonably 8. Try one more. 8. All right. So when we teleport for transaction ID 8, that happens here and here. Okay. So we want to set a breakpoint there. On transaction ID 8. Okay. Now, found should have a visual interpolation with a start time that's not -1. It isn't. So we're going to take the address of this and set a data breakpoint. Okay. Okay. Obviously, okay, so we even looked at this code today. This code doesn't make that much sense anymore. So do teleport movement used to actually physically move the guy. He doesn't anymore. He just says, hey, caller, physically move the guy. If the time to teleport and the end of the teleport time come in the same frame, then we'll cancel our interpolation right here. Now that was always wrong to cancel the interpolation probably, or to mark it done, or at least it always was confusing. But it became broken when we got rid of that to ignore list. That was a little bit wrong, because that to ignore list was the only thing that made this work, because checking the transaction ID wasn't working because the start time was -1. All right. So here's what we do. We're going to say, clean up, this entire routine is kind of useless. Get rid of it. I'm going to put that on the list. For after we have all our chocolate and snacks. So all we're going to do is, look, if we're telling the outer system that it's time to physically move this guy, that's fine, but don't cancel the thing till after that has happened. So don't mark us as done. Okay. Visual Studio. What? Let's indent one character with the tab key because we're Visual Studio. Dude, I don't even know what these people are thinking, like, ever. All right. Is that going to fix it? I bet it does. Hey. All right. So now let's go back up to 32. And like I said, a bunch of levels are going to fail, but the wizard levels shouldn't fail. Let's try this one. That was at 32x. 32x. All right, let's try it again. So some of the lily pad levels and the orange stone levels will fail, but oh, why'd that one fail? Wait, what? And then we crash. What? Oh boy. Okay, we have more problems than we thought we had. So now maybe this thing that I did, maybe this has some further up ramifications. Like, I don't even know. I mean, let's clean this up slightly. All right. What even happened? We like crashed. It was crazy. Oh, let's get rid of our breakpoints. Like that one failed, which was weird. Didn't expect the Spanish Inquisition there. Oh, we don't need this. That's our breakpoint on transaction ID 8. Oh God, we've got a rendering crash. Okay. So that is just something I'm going to have to email to someone, I think. Well, maybe the mesh doesn't really have this many triangles or something. So I can't really run the tests very effectively if we're going to have graphics crashes. What level is this? Barred escape. So if I'm just going to go to that level, does it just crash? Yes. Okay, well, nobody else has fixed. Oh, somebody updated draw. Let's see if that fixes it. Maybe, maybe not. There we go. Someone fixed it. All right. Let's try testing again. We were still seeing maybe a few more fails than we wanted. Like that shouldn't have failed, I don't think. That one shouldn't have failed. Dude, I don't know what's happening. I feel like that transaction ID check. Why were those stones not skipping? Like what? Yeah, replays are going to get some more work today. Like all these levels are messed up. All right. Anyway, let's just see how many levels fail, and we'll consider how bad that is. Our short-term project, like over the next 2 weeks, look at all these fails. Over the next 2 weeks, we're going to be doing a lot of overhaul on the movement system to be ending with what'll hopefully be the final version of the movement system. And at that point, all this stuff should be fully robust, hopefully. Okay, any questions about what's going on? Since changing to 32, it feels choppy. Yeah, so what's going on is a lot of things are happening like, so we don't preload all our assets right now. So if we play a sound effect and you haven't played that particular sound effect yet, it loads it off disk, right? Similarly, if you play an animation and whatever, right? And so that's one reason why it feels choppy at any speed, but especially fast speeds, is because we don't do that yet. And our animations now have twice the sampling rate they used to, so they take longer to load and all that. Wow, this level used to work. What is going on? I don't understand all the fails. All right, we have other problems. There's just too many fails. I think the thief doesn't work right at high speeds either. I think the wizard works now, but yeah, see that? The thief didn't really pull anything there. And I think it's the same. Well, let's find out. We've got to fix this. So here the thief works fine. What if we test it? Fail. Okay, well, we've got a similar problem to one that we had on the wizard, right? So the thing about the thief is she's pulling blocks onto her location. So that transaction ID check really needs to work. All right, same thing. Make a debug build, start it up, set our breakpoint at here. And let's see what level. This one. Here is 1.6. So we're going to be starting up there. I really just wanted to go get snacks. All right. So we fail real early. Like, we're trying to pull this to the next square. So we do have two things physically moved. Visual interpolation. Valid. Linear move. Visual interpolation. Linear move. Start time -1. Bro. That's not even a teleport. I bet. Okay. So for non-character linear movements, we have a similar thing. We have like a do. Okay, if it's a teleport, we do this. If it's a guy, we do this. Otherwise, we do this. Whoa, what? This is wrong. We're not moving it till the very end of the frame. Okay, so this stuff was totally wrong, but it was being masked by other things. Well, that's really weird. This is such a giant can of worms. So we want to be moving this thing physically when it's halfway between squares. That's not what was happening. It was staying in its old square until the very end. Oh, wait. If the duration is greater than oh, this is confusing. No, okay. No, this is right. I'm going to do this. Why duration greater than, who did that? Okay. So if the elapsed time is less than the total time, we just don't mark it as done. Okay, the problem in this code that's similar to the wizard code is if we're going so fast that we'll never do this, because in one frame we'll get past the entire duration of the thing, we'll mark it as done, and we'll never have moved, right? So here's what we do. Okay. So now, if we didn't do that, where do we get this old t from? I see, before we add the delta. Okay. This is all just weird. Again, like, it's kind of not great that if we're going really fast, we take 2 frames always. Okay, well, that's a little bit better, but not really. I still screwed it up. Oh, no, don't record. All right. If we should physically move, return that. Well, let's return true, really. If we didn't return true, then maybe we mark ourselves as done. Like, I don't even know if somebody else marks as done. There could be all kinds of problems here. Like I said, I want to simplify all of this stuff massively because it's really, it's just too much for how simple it should be. So I don't even end up with the blocks in the same place every time. I don't understand that even. Well, I guess I do, but what if I really speed up time? Then our game is really having a cow for some reason. This is just too fast for us to deal with. I don't know what's going on. Can the test not happen without the rendering, or is that part of the test? Well, it's really part of the test. And turning off the rendering is annoying enough that why bother? Wow, that's weird. That might be a clue that we do something real bad when speed is too high. Yeah, it's very inconsistent. Okay, if our time rate is super high, we miss like 100% of the time. Don't record. Does fighter even work correctly? Yeah, fighter works. Thief does not. Well, I'm just going to have to debug this the same way as the other thing, where we look for the failure and we mark the transaction ID and then figure out under what condition it's getting reset. So if that had been the only problem, then I think it would be fine, but it is perhaps not the only problem. Oops. Yeah. I want to set a breakpoint here and start, and we're going to go time rate 2 because that gives us the most failures. Okay, so transaction ID 2. Let's try it again. All right, that's good enough for me. So now the place we want to set the breakpoint is can pull is what the thief can do. And we get something that's pullable. And we move it there. Okay. So we go here, we say condition mover visual interpolation transaction ID is equal to 2. Getting hungry. I want to eat. All right, so we're speeding up time. Test. Okay, so now the pullable not Alshin, interpolation. This thing has a start time. And we set another data breakpoint of when does that get to 0. OX 2389 D9 EC EA 0. We didn't hit it. Oh, it's not the pullable? Wait, what? Maybe it's the thief that like can't. Okay, now I'm confused. E, this is the entity that is blocked. Its mesh is a crystal. How is that not the pullable? Oh, wait. It's the other, okay. It's the thief whose start time is getting set to -1. Okay. So we do that. Mover visual interpolation start time. Okay, that is set to a decent number. We go new data breakpoint 203F47AFE70. There we go. It is getting reset here. It's just completed. Where even are we? Update entity visual interpolation. Oh, wait, what? Okay. The same problem. Remember when I said the guy has a separate movement code from the blocks? Now it's the guy that just has the same problem, right? So well, I guess it's just been reset. Oh no, we just set the start time. Okay, so physically moved is false, but done is true. That shouldn't happen. Like, you should have moved before you said you were done. So its update guy position is wrong now. And all of this was masked by the fact that we had that ignore list. Okay. Stationary, we're not going to worry about yet. Okay. Like, I feel like instead of checking this in any individual case, you really want the system to not be confused if somebody sets done, you know, and just say, no, you're not done. You didn't move yet. That's probably the better thing, but oh, no, we didn't really fix it. Didn't change anything. Okay. Actually, it really should be because if we already moved, we don't want to say we're not done. Actually, we could just do this. Right? If we haven't physically moved, don't say that we're done. So it's still not going to fix it. Oh, it did. All right, well, let's do double speed now. All right, cool. It's cool, bro. All right. Testing. Yeah, you just make one little change to part of your system and stuff could break. But it's good, because remember how I said I wanted simplification? Getting rid of that extra list that was masking problems was actually a good simplification, because we found these problems. We just need to stomp on this piece of code continually until it stops being annoying. All right. Any questions about what I was doing? I think we're going to do some blackout tomorrow, yeah. You need a sit rep emote before tomorrow. That's true. Okay, we'll do sit rep tonight. I'm putting it on the list. All right, I did that one. All right. There's definitely still going to be a number of levels that fail, but it shouldn't be anything too bad. Still got plenty of things to do. Any final questions before I go on break? I've got this big list of stuff to do today. I don't know if we'll get to it all. We'll do some of it. It'll be good times. Well, we appear to have no serious questions. No real questions. People are chatting in the elite chat for Elite Chatters Lounge of eliteness. Am I liking the embodied chair? Yeah. I mean, it's not like I've tried a huge number of chairs in the world. I like it better than the Aeron chair for sure. I don't know how it compares to elite gaming chairs like people have, but, you know. Yeah, this is looking a lot more like it should. So I think we're going to be back down to the regular set of fails. Yeah, embodies Herman Miller. Herman Miller. We might get to some telling the truth. We did earlier. We did have some serious business earlier, in case you missed it. I don't know if we'll get to serious business this time. We've still got some Gene, the dancing machine, to go. Yeah, there's the spoilers, but you won't remember any of these solutions. It's fine. Maybe. There's also going to be like 200 more levels than what you see here in the final game, so, you know. There is no limit to how many blocks the warrior could push at once. Calculator always on top. Yeah.
Telling the truth can be bad news. Telling the truth can be bad news. Telling the truth can be telling the truth can be good Telling the truth is a bad idea. Telling the truth is a difficult problem. Telling the truth is a scary. Telling the truth is a scary predicament. Telling the truth is a bitter herb. Telling the truth is a dangerous tunnel. When you get out of that tunnel, it's a bitter herb. Life ahead. Forget herb. I never heard of a hit that had the word herb in it. Telling the truth is a dangerous thing. Dangerous! Telling the truth can be dangerous. What? Danger. Telling the truth can be dangerous. Telling the truth can be dangerous. Telling the truth can be dangerous.
The speed, the animation speed doesn't necessarily depend on the timing. Like, we could do that.
Telling the truth can be dangerous business because if yourself, because you don't know why. Huh? Well, I'm just giving you with the ideas. Telling the truth can be dangerous business. If you don't know yourself, then you don't know why. Oh, is that brilliant? Telling the truth can be dangerous business. Honest and popular don't go hand in hand. If you admit that you can play the accordion.
I still have pizza here that I could eat, even though I'm hungry.
But we can't sing our hearts out. And we're lucky when no neighbors complain.
All right, that was our shot of serious business. Will there be any random game elements? Probably not in this game. It's not what it's about. No gameplay affecting random elements. There are random visual aesthetic things that happen. How did I get started? I started programming when I was 10 years old in school on a Commodore VIC-20. I didn't have jobs till way later than that. How did we implement the last scene in The Witness? By filming some things and playing them back in the right way. Yeah, there's no super garlic left. It's sad. I got a non-super garlic pizza, and I regret my life choices. Wow, we have a lot of levels now, and we're about to add like 50 more. We're going to have to amp up the testing speed to be able to test the game in time. You just try to dismiss the commander window so you can see the spoilers. Telling the truth could be bad news. Wow, we're still testing. It's crazy. Secret of time management. Now we're not doing particles. We were doing some gameplay fixes. Complete. We're doing some gameplay fixes involving All right, so this is about how many fails that I expected. There's a couple there that I'm not sure about, but there's an ongoing investigation. So some of these are, a couple of these are due to a gameplay problem that we'll fix in a later stream today, a bug, but most of them are due to like playback not handling timed elements very well. But we're gonna put fails.txt. Whoops, I wanted to copy these. So about 15% of our levels fail right now. It's no big deal. Why didn't I get these? It scrolled on me. So the ones that are due to the bug are, okay, well this one we can fix. That's just like that level not really being good right now. This one is a gameplay bug. So is this one, same bug. Let's put those together. And this one. And then there might be the same problem in some of these other ones, but these are probably mostly like playback system not handling what's in those levels. These four, at least, are very fixable. So we can get it down below 20 before we have to start working on the hard stuff. Do I think I'm ever going to design a level on stream? I don't want to spoil the game that much. I mean, for people who know about the game, they know about the game, but I don't know. I don't know, man. Should bump the speed back up in the tweak file. It's true, I should do that. Should also get my pizza out of the refrigerator. Oh, I did bump it back up. 32 is the usual speed. It's just we've got a lot more levels now than we ever had. All right, we're having the last of the pizza. I didn't expect this to be a pizza stream, but it is. It's going to be 1,000 degrees. It won't be that bad because I put it on like pizza reheat mode on the microwave, which is a lower power setting. But yeah. Oh, did I design one on stream? Okay. Well, maybe I'll do more on stream then. I'm not doing tons of game design lately because I'm mostly doing system level stuff or gameplay level stuff. But if I get to a point where I'm doing a lot of design again, then maybe I'll do one on stream. How many threads does the engine run on and what do they do? Well, there's the main thread that does almost everything. There's the audio thread that handles playing sounds. I don't know if we have a graphics thread yet. Hopefully we don't have one and don't have to. And then there might be various worker threads that get spawned to do various things like compressing textures if you're in developer mode and whatever. But in general, it's not an engine that's trying hard to have a lot of threads. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So we're going to check that in. And we will say via email, I checked in a fix for the worst parts of the endpoint mean situation. You know if there are still serious problems, as for which now only one entity should get to the end of the endpoint beam. Right now, which one is kind of arbitrary. We could implement a system for this as you suggest, but I don't necessarily want to put in the effort and added complexity yet unless we get some good level design juice out of it, i.e. interesting level. That depends on that order, or maybe that's a bad idea because it would be too weird and tweaky. I don't know. Okay, I'm going to send this off screen so you can't see our top secret corporate email addresses. All right. So I sent that. I can unstar that out of my email. Oh, there was a big email thread about this graphics crash. We tried to add sorting of translucent entities, and that broke something, which is weird. Dude, Humble Bundle does a new thing like every day. I get so many Humble Bundle emails. Do I use a binary or human readable representation? It is human readable, but we don't have to read it very often. In the shipping game, it'll be binary. It's just not right now because we don't need it to be. Is the thing you are drinking healthy? This is a mint green tea with no sugar, so it's really not bad. It's got some caffeine. Did I check in? I believe I checked in. Let's check if we checked in. Yeah, we did. It's just the executables conflicting, which is normal because I build those on my own machine. What kind of level data is necessary to store in a game like this other than entities and their transforms? Well, the way we do it is there's just a bunch of entities. So let's pick that level that we were on, and I can show you what it looks like. So this level is Heroes 1.6, and you know it's got a bunch of individual entities. You can select those, and you see what all these fields are, right? And everything in the level is one of these entities, even when there's some stuff that you would think is like ancillary data around the level. We put, if there's an ocean map here, we don't have one on this level, so, but you would put that in the ocean map if you were going to. Cameras even, so like where is the camera position for the level, which is right here? Well, there's a camera entity. Okay, it's, there we go. It's that thing right there. And then this is the sun entity, so like I could change the sunlight direction by moving that around and stuff. So then if we go to levels, there's one folder here for every level that we have, including ones that aren't intended to be shipping yet. How 392 levels. Like I said, a lot of these are not in the game yet. Okay, so Heroes 1.6. And there's just entities and light maps in this file. So the entity, let's look at the entities first of all. Like 3173. Actually, let's pick something that we know is, that we know what it is. So let's turn off the sunlight. How about the character here, right? So this is 1-23. That would be 1_23 here. So we can just go to that. So here we have a 123, and that's a guy. It's got a position scale, orientation, entity flags, how it's mounted, which it isn't, bounding volume information, override color, mesh offset materials, these flags. All of these are the same things that are here. See all these booleans? They're all here. True, false, 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 etc. So it's just a super dumb format. It's not meant to be efficient. It's meant to work well with source control and to be visible to a human being if you want to diagnose what's going wrong. And that's it. The whole level is just these. The light map files, those are in binary, and it's just like a compressed texture map that represents the way the light falls on the surface. That's like a whole different thing, though. It's crazy. It's not crazy. This is just how games are. What's crazy about it? How are levels stored? That is the whole level. What you just saw, so this folder with all these files in it is literally how the level is stored. How did we do entity serialization for inversioning in the witness? The answer to that is probably pretty long. It's not that different from how it works in this game, and I'm pretty sure we worked on that stuff in a stream somewhere that's on YouTube that you could go see. I don't remember the name of the stream though. When you move the sun, why didn't that look weird? Wouldn't that invalidate all the light maps? Uh, it does technically invalidate all the light maps, but if you force that to happen, then the level's just going to be harder to work with, so we don't. What'll happen is you as the level designer would just move the sun and then rebake the light maps. It's sort of your responsibility to do that. I don't really know what is in a .unity file, but it's probably not good. Oh, there's some nuances of the file format that I could talk about. See how okay, there's a few things about it. So here's position, right? When we're loading this file, if we see a star, it means the value changed from the default. If there's no star, then we don't even bother parsing the value. So A, it loads faster than you would expect because we don't necessarily have to do as much value stuffing, because like all these values are unchanged from the entity default. I forget what B I was going to say there. But the other thing, notice every time we print out a floating point number, we do it in like kind of a limited precision. And then we have a colon, and then we have this hex float that's actually the 32-bit number representing that float. When we're actually going to parse a floating point number, we actually ignore this part, the human readable part, and we look for the colon with the hex float, right? And if we see that, then we just use this. And what that means is you can save and load entities as text without worrying about the value drifting over time as you save and load it, right? Now, if you wanted to hand edit this file, like, oh, I got to change the position of this entity, you could actually, as long as you delete the hex float, then we'll read this number here, right? So I could change it to 3.5, and that would be fine. But we only use this if the hex float is not available. And it's very rare that that happens. Right, this is, if you're not used to seeing this, this is the IEEE 754 representation of the floating point number. It's what is actually in the computer's memory to store these numbers, right? What do I do when my employer asks me to go take a course in modern C++? Well, first I go to the psychiatrist because I am my employer, and if I was telling myself to do that, that would be pretty bad. So that would be step one. Step two, I don't know. I mean, how much do you like the job? Would you rather be doing something else, etc.? How is the logic for plates and doors handled? It's pretty simple. Like, you know, when you step on a pressure plate, we just check if all pressure plates in the room that have the same, they have an integer tag, right? Like this is 0, 1, 2, or whatever. Usually they're all 0 because a level will only have one kind of pressure plate. But you could have, like, you know, the gold plates opening the gold door and the purple plates opening the purple door or whatever. And in that case, like the gold plates might be set to 0 and the purple plates might be set to 1, right? And then the gold door is set to 0 and the purple door is set to 1. And then when you change the state of a plate, you just say, okay, are all the plates of this kind down? If so, open the doors of this type. And if they're all up, or if they're not all down, then close all doors of this type. And it's really pretty simple. You don't even need to delete the hex float given a certain epsilon you can use to say, oh, this is clearly a new number. That is true. We could do that. We don't right now, though, because I like the idea of not parsing floats if we don't have to, because that's kind of slow. Like parsing the hex float is a lot faster than parsing the float. What am I eating? It's deep dish pizza. Okay, well, this has been a successful stream. I think we're gonna close it down for a break for a while, and I'll come back. Wow, we've been going 4 hours already. We're at our highest viewer count of the day, but we're gonna come back later and do some more gameplay debugging. Am I going to be streaming Blackout when it releases? Probably, yeah. Duos with the dock. I don't know about that. Oh, yeah. We will have more chocolate when we start again. It's so nice to come home and be grounded in reality here after a long day working in software development in an increasingly frustrating environment with lots of holier-than-thou people that don't write a single line of code, yet still act like they all know exactly how software development should be handled with TDD and other nonsense. That doesn't sound very fun. Glad I don't work a place like that. Watch my talk from Handmade Con 2015. I was explaining differences between design approach and programming. I said for design, you have to have magical shower thing, whereas for programming, it's different. Otherwise, you'd have a walk and think about how to solve line crossing itself, and it's stupid. Why is it stupid? I'm not sure. So I don't remember exactly what I said at that time, and I am not sure that I can answer correctly what you're asking without knowing. So maybe we have to defer that question to a little later. Yeah, I don't really remember what I was saying. All right, let's maybe raid somebody else who is in science and technology. That's so, like, how did they do that? Like, how is Twitch so tone deaf that they put all of programming in science and technology? We could go back to Cosmos. Cosmos or I am one of the best gamers in the country, snort. That's a difficult choice. Let's see what Carl's doing. I don't know. We did Cosmos. Let's see if anyone's doing real stuff. Pocket Watch games.
Someone can come in with just data that they have or whatever. It makes, I don't know, I kind of like sticking with sort of the traditional way where people understand like
Let's raid that.
server is a server.
Thanks everyone for coming by. We'll start up again in a little while, probably for at least an hour from now, and so forth. Will we one day rewrite the rendering system, use Vulkan? No, I don't like Vulkan. Is there a good place to make a post if you have a specific graphics performance problem? The people in the Elite Lounge might be interested in talking about that. I don't know. Why don't I like Vulkan? Because there's no point. It is not what they said it was going to be. So why would you bother using it? All right, everybody. We can talk about Vulkan when the stream starts up again if you guys want. All right. See you later. As soon as this raid completes.